got some breaking news into the HQ, and we've got ourselves a storming of the field in South Bend as Notre Dame pulls the upset on previously unbeaten Clemson, 35-14, biggest win in this first season for Marcus Freeman as the head coach of the Fighting Irish, and the second loss of a top 4 college football playoff team on this college football Saturday. Clemson knocked off by Notre Dame. And for more on the upset in South Bend, we welcome in CBS Sports' Barrett Sallee. All right, Barrett, Clemson, they were 8-0 coming into this one, ranked 4th in the college football playoff rankings, and they lose big to Notre Dame. In a weird way, for those of us who've been paying attention, it's not all that shocking. What were the crumbs that led us to this point for Clemson getting beat?
Well, it's all DJ Uiagalelei. You know, Dabo has been really reluctant to replace him with Cade Klubnik. Now, when they got down a couple weeks ago against Syracuse, they put Cade Klubnik in, but he made it a point after that game to say, DJ's still my guy. And then in this game against Notre Dame, it was a couple drives too late before he put Cade Klubnik in. And at that point, his first pass was an interception, but he was pressing because he had to press. So to me, I think the biggest thing with this Clemson team is Dabo was loyal to a fault with his quarterback, DJ Uiagalelei, and ultimately that's what cost him, because we could see this coming throughout the course of the last year and a half. Very inconsistent. Now, he did have a great game against Wake Forest in that double overtime game, but that's Wake Forest defense. That was the only time that he's really looked like a difference maker at quarterback. So I think what we saw is Dabo Swinney loyal to a fault, and ultimately it cost Clemson tonight.
Clemson Tigers, you know, if we look back, it's not even that far into the past. They were sort of Georgia before Georgia. They were the ones to sort of break through, win a national championship. What we saw with Georgia is that Kirby Smart has built sort of a juggernaut. Is this a sign that Dabo Swinney still has a ways to go to build Clemson to the place that he wants to get it to?
Well, I don't know if he's got to change the way he's building it. I think that maybe we got spoiled as a college football world, that maybe Clemson just kind of lucked out with how good Deshaun Watson was and how good Trevor Lawrence was. Now, granted, Dabo Swinney had to recruit those guys, but we're talking about generational talent. I think maybe all of us saw DJ's star rating coming in and thought, hey, no worries. He was great filling in for Trevor in 2020 in the COVID year. He's going to be just fine. But what we found out is that he has not progressed. And in fact, he has regressed as a passer. So I think, Dabo's still building it in the right way. Dabo is still keeping this Clemson team at a top 10 level. But as far as juggernaut, absolutely. Georgia has replaced Clemson as the juggernaut. And Georgia's doing it with a quarterback in Stetson Bennett, who is still great, but he's not Deshaun Watson. He's not Trevor Lawrence. So I think really the genesis of these last couple of years for Clemson is the fact that they don't have Trevor and they don't have Deshaun Watson. And I think you go back and look, let's say the 2017 team. Kelly Bryant was the quarterback. They were a fraud. They got exposed in the Sugar Bowl in the semifinal. They found a way to continue to win in the regular season. That's the same sort of track that this Clemson team was on. But again, it shows Dabo, without a generational quarterback, is still a really good coach, but not an exceptional coach.
All right, let's talk about Notre Dame for a quick second, because there was a lot of optimism when Marcus Freeman took over the job. Probably not so much watching the Fighting Irish early on in this season, but how big of a deal is this for this Notre Dame team to beat Clemson, to storm the field, just for Marcus Freeman and his tenure at Notre Dame?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it's absolutely huge. The season got off to such a rough start, and it had people looking around at Marcus Freeman going, dude, are you going to win a football game? And, you know, they've had moments. It was like this Notre Dame team just couldn't figure out what it actually was. And I think it figured out what it was tonight against Clemson. Great defense and an efficient offense. Drew Pine was not a superstar, but he was good enough. He took care of the football. And so I think for Marcus Freeman, you finally got that monkey off your back. You finally got some pressure off your shoulders, and you beat a team that, granted, Clemson a little overrated, but still gave your fans a reason to storm the field, gave your fans a reason to have that kind of faith in you and have optimism. It's not something that a lot of us expected after a couple weeks of the season. But I think, look, you have to grow into the job, right? Marcus Freeman's still new at this. Granted, he coached the bowl game, but this is his first full season. And a lot of times when you put on that head coaching headset, it's very different. You can go through those mental reps as an assistant thinking, okay, would I go for it here? Do I need to punt? All of those decisions that a head coach has to make. But when you actually do it, it's a different ball game. Maybe Marcus Freeman just wasn't ready early in the season, but now he managed this game perfectly. And as a result, I think Notre Dame fans have hope for the future. And Marcus Freeman has shown that he is the right guy for this job.
Notre Dame pulls the big upset on previously unbeaten Clemson. Barrett Sallee of CBS Sports. Barrett, thank you so much. Clemson certainly not out of everything just yet. Just one loss to go with their 8 wins. But here's a look at the rest of their schedule. Needless to say, they're going to need to win out against Louisville, Miami, South Carolina. They're going to have to play in the ACC championship game as well. Probably have to win out and get some help. The Clemson Tigers no longer amongst the unbeatens in college football.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.